Hey, Journey students, Jadner here. We are in week 3 of our series Legacy, and even crazier, we are in the last week of Journey students for the 2018-2019 school year. Next week, we will not be having Journey students, at least in DeLand and Orange City, because of all the graduations going on in our county and in the area. But I just want to say, hey, it's been an awesome year. Thank you so much for joining us. To the seniors that are getting ready to go on, we love you guys. We will pray. We will continue to pray for you guys. You guys are still welcome to join us during the summer. But then as you get ready to start college, man, we're going to be or going into the military or going into the workforce, whatever you plan on doing. Man, we just want to be there for you. We want to pray for you. So I just want to thank you for being part of this ministry and joining us and partnering with us for as long as you have now. So thank you guys so much. So guys, if you see a senior, make sure you give them a pat on the back, a hug, and make sure you pray for them today. But this week, we're going to be going into week 3 of our series Legacies. And it really got me thinking. We're at this point about 4 weeks away from Focus and everything that God did at Focus. And I don't want us to forget that. And the thing is that time makes us forget things. It's kind of brutal when you think about it, that we get so caught up in the here and now that we forget what God did in the past. And for some of you, you're struggling with that right now. You remember everything that God did at Focus, but you're trying to reconcile that with everything you're seeing happening in your life right now. And we saw that in the first week as we talked about the story of Abraham as he prayed over and interceded for Sodom and Gomorrah, speaking to God on their behalf. But this week, I want to share something a little bit different. This week, we're going to be sharing about the story of Jacob. Jacob was the son of Isaac. He's one of Isaac's twin boys, but he was the second one who came out. We talked about him a little bit at Focus. And we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 28. And I just want you to kind of get a glimpse of, I just want this to be your heart. This is for those of you that are getting ready to graduate. This is for you that are in middle school and high school, whatever age you're in. You can apply this to your life because it is so beautiful of a story. And sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle of the stories of Jacob because there's so many other events like we talked about in Focus where Jacob actually wrestled with God. But this happened before that. And I want you to kind of see the picture of what happens here, how Jacob reacts, and I want you to see how you can apply it to your life. So Genesis chapter 28 verse 10 says, "Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and traveled north to Haran. At sundown, he arrived at a good place to set up camp and stopped there for the night. Jacob found a stone to rest his head against and lay down to sleep. So he leaves Beersheba and he's going to take a nap, and he puts his head on a stone, which does not sound comfortable, but he goes down to sleep. And verse 12, it says, as he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from the earth up to heaven. And he saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway." Now, can you imagine this dream of these angels coming up and down these stairs that lead to heaven? It's so clear to him that it has to do with heaven. Verse 13, at the top of the stairway stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. They will spread out in all directions, to the west and the east, to the north and the south. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. What's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you." In verse 16 says, "Then Jacob awoke from his sleep." Now I want you to think about this. These are the promises that God gave his grandfather Abraham so many years before. He was going to give him all these descendants. He was going to give him land, and his descendants were going to be a blessing to all the nations and all the people of the earth. He continues to repeat this theme. So what do you do with that? You dream that, you hear that, you've heard it for years. He probably heard it from his father about these things. He probably never could reconcile it because he's never really had an encounter with God like this until this moment. And he wakes up from his sleep and it says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it." Now, I want to say this. How many times are you entering parts of your life and you don't even realize that God is there? You think that God isn't there. You kind of think you're alone. He's alone putting his head on a rock, trying to get some sleep in the middle of the desert. And he didn't even realize that God was there with him. He didn't realize it. And so many times we feel the same way. We feel tired. We feel broken. We feel like we're in this desert. We feel like we're trying to lay our head down to rest, but we can't. And we fail to recognize that God is there all the time. But this is what verse 17 says. But he was also afraid and said, "What an awesome place it is. It is none other than the house of God, the very gateway to heaven." And the next morning, Jacob got up very early. He took the stone that he had rested his head against, and he had set it upright as a memorial pillar. And then he poured olive oil all over it. He named that place Bethel, which means house of God, although it was previously called Luz. And then Jacob made this vow: "If God will indeed be with me and protect me on this journey, and he will provide me with food and clothing, and if I return safely to my father's home, then the Lord will certainly be my God, and this pillar I have set up will become a place for worshiping God, and I will present to God a tenth of everything he gives me." See, he heard the promises of God. He sets up this memorial, and he makes a promise to follow God. And he uses that memorial as a place to remember what God did in his life, how it changed him, and when he first interacted with God for the very first time. So I want to share this with you as we get ready to go into groups. For some of you, focus was that time, that memorial and that pillar. And some of you didn't put that pillar and that memorial up. So you have a hard time going back to those memories and those thoughts, but it's not too late. I want you to go back and use the time where you've connected with God and set up a memorial. Something to remind you of who God is, that he's there, that he's not, that although he feels distant while you're here back at home or back at school getting ready to finish out or about to go into graduation, or as you're going to start college or the military or the workforce, or you're going to be moving, or whatever it is that's going on in your life, you may feel like you're alone. You may feel like you can't rest. You may feel like you're lost in the desert. But I want you to put that pillar up of when you interacted with God, if that was for Focus at the very first time, or Passion Camp, or a missions trip, or Haiti, or anything that you've done where you have felt God, seen God move in a way that you will never, ever forget. I want you to set up a memorial so that you can remember who God is, what he's done, and that he's there. And then I want you to make the promise that you're going to serve him and he will be your God. You won't let other things be your God. You won't obsess over other things. Instead, you will give your life over to the one true God because you've been blessed by him. See, he wants to protect you. He wants to take care of you. He wants to provide for you. It's just a matter of trusting him. And that's the whole thing with the story of Jacob. He spends his whole life trying to work things out on his own, but little did he know God was with him the whole time, trying to do that without him having to take matters into his own hands. So I share that with you to say, where's your memorial? Where is this stone, this pillar that you've set up to remember who God was, where he was, how he is with you, how he's treated you, how he's blessed you? And have you made that commitment to give everything over to him? For those of you, as you go into summer, as you go on vacation, as you get tempted with so many different things, I want to ask you, what is it that you're holding on to? What is it that you're going to go back on and look on and be like, no, I need to follow Jesus here because of this? Because I promise you, as you go through those thoughts and as you think about them, God's going to open up your heart and he's going to open up your eyes and your mind in ways that you have never experienced before. This is the legacy of Jacob. He was changed forever by God when he wrestled with God, but man, him setting up this pillar not just set up a memorial for him, but for his descendants for all eternity. So, guys, that's all we have for you today. This is the last week of our series, Legacies. I hope you enjoyed it. We're about to go into groups, and for some of you, you're even going to just hang out and just enjoy some time with your group time, as this is the last school group time of the year. But man, I just want to encourage you. We love you. We're here for you. We're here to pray for you. Journey Students doesn't end after this week. We'll be back at it on all 3 campuses the first Wednesday of June. And man, we just can't wait to see what God is going to do in and through you this summer as well. So we love you guys. Hope to see you soon. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.